Welcome everybody to Anchors Away. It was an eventful weekend for Seattle sports. Some really good, some really bad, but it was a eventful weekend. So we're gonna kind of get going on this pretty quickly. But of course, I was there, but did you have a fun weekend? Was it good? Going into this week, did you enjoy the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. It was nice to have you actually come up from South Carolina. So that was great to see you. Also great to go to the final game, with the AAA team there, the Bats. At least they won.
Yeah.
Go
I
out
think
in
that was the
style.
only one we saw them win this year.
Exactly. And actually the pitcher was halfway decent this time too,
Yeah.
who I think we've seen every time we've
The
gone.
fourth time out of four, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Geez. So it was really good. It was a nice weekend, and just looking at least we saw a team win, and then then I went home and kind of saw lousy play. So there we go.
Yeah, yep, that basically sums it up.
I guess I'm going with my win one game all season for the rest of the series. Good
that's what it seems like. And we'll kind of go into this a little further here, but let's go ahead and let's get the timer started.
Okay.
Because well, we'll just see how this goes. So we got 5 minutes on the clock. Let's just start with Seattle Seahawks and the game against the Atlanta Falcons. Was this kind of that? Let's start with this. For me, this was a game that was either, okay, we're going to try and win some games, or you just let it ride. You let young guys develop it, and you see what, top 10 pick you get and what kind of quarterback you can pick up in the first round. Right. For you, do you still see this team as having an opportunity to, shoot or go for it and try and make playoffs? Or was it, like I said, for me, this game where it's like, okay, it is what it is. Let's just develop the young guys.
Yeah, I think this was a telling game in a lot of ways. In a way, they kind of let Geno cook.
Mm-hmm. It was like career highs for him, I think.
Yeah, 325 yards, I think, and
a couple touchdowns. Yeah.
Overall, I think they had 420 total yards of offense. So you kind of saw that and went, oh, okay. And sure enough, they were only averaging 48 plays a game in the first two games. They got 69 in this one. So yeah, they had more opportunities. So, but again, the defense is probably what we were probably going to, at least for myself, I was going to hang my hat on the defense because it's a new 3-4 scheme. We got a lot of young guys on there. So really to see where we were at with that.
Yeah.
Obviously we're nowhere close for a defense to compete. Unfortunately, we got a lot of young guys. We got a new scheme, but there's work to be done. Way too many pass plays of, big plays that were out there. The run game, they just obliterated us run game wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is now, I think what you say is, okay, kind of like what the Mariners have been doing. Let's let the young guys get the experience. This is not our year. We knew we probably weren't going to hit the playoffs anyway. Let's really work on getting this defense solid, because there's work to be done. I'm sorry, but the next two games are going to be a crapshoot anyway. So who would have ever thought saying that about Detroit? But
yeah.
Again, with the defense, there really was no run defense that I could see. I mean, they were popping the plays left and right. The defense, the front seven, a lot of questions about. Again, we really our front defensive line. The only guy that I think has shown up is Al Woods. To be honest, I haven't seen anything really solid from the defensive line. That's a concern. Again, I get it. We're trying to play a 3-4, but there's just a lot of question marks on defense. There's some bright spots, and there's some, you can see the flashes of what could be, especially with Kobe Bryant. He finally got a sack, so that was kind of neat. Tariq Woolen with that interception, very nice interception, actually, going up there and getting it. I think he's starting to form in, and kudos for Richard Sherman for tagging Tariq on that one too. So he's got it invested. We just need to put Sherman on the sideline and let him coach the secondary, maybe. But yeah, a lot of questions for me. I'll just be that way. How about yourself? What are you thinking?
The cornerbacks I'm not too worried about. I think week after week you see them progress. Mike Jackson made a great play on Drake London in the first half, knocking a ball out of his hands. And then Tariq, like you say, he went up, grabbed the interception. Those two guys I'm not worried about.
Right.
One's a rookie, one's pretty much a rookie in playing time wise. So, and they're continuing to progress. Not worried there. Front seven, we can't stop the run at any level. It feels like.
And pass plays across the middle. No problem.
Yeah. See, I don't like Cody Barton in his flat or not flat, but his like curl zone there. Seems to like let guys get past him. He doesn't really know what they're doing on routes. None of it looked good yesterday with him, which is unfortunate because he is fast. So maybe if he can get his zone up, that changes. Defense wise, I'm okay with it. Because like I said, corners it's a lot of young guys, a lot of time to progress and get better for next year. The thing that worries me again is the offense. Geno had good numbers. The offense had more plays. But they only were able to put up 3 points and 3 possessions in the whole second half, which, I think Sherman said it best in his podcast with KJ Wright is when they had Marshawn running the ball, they were on the field for 25 minutes compared to 35. So it's just kind of a interesting correlation there that, if your defense is tired and you go 3 and out, it's not going to go well. But fortunately, 5 minutes goes fast, even on the disappointing topics. So we'll go ahead and restart this timer, and we're gonna at least get to some good news. And we were sitting at the ball game on Saturday, and the notification comes across the phone that Luis Castillo signs a 5-year deal to stay in Seattle. You're now looking at for the next at least 4, maybe 5 years, depending on what Gilbert's contract is, and I'm sure he'll get re-signed too, so I'm not worried. But Robbie Ray, Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, and George Kirby as your top 4 starting pitchers. If you would have told me 2 years ago that would be our starting rotation, that seems a little unbelievable. But here we are today. Our rotation is set. If we can get I know people in Seattle really like Marco Gonzalez. We've had our kind of differing opinions on that down here. But let's talk about the starting rotation. And I know, Castillo did not pitch great after signing that extension yesterday there. But how are you feeling, at least, and I think Castillo has a no trade clause too, so he's fully here. Going forward, how do you feel about that top 4?
I'm loving it. And in fact, we've talked about it in the past, talking about how I just figured, if I was Jerry Dipoto, I would have just walked up to Luis Castillo after we brought him over and see him smiling and said, "Hey, you want a Robbie Ray deal?"
And that means what he got.
That's what he got. Obviously, he wants to be here.
Yep.
Which is great. It's just nice to have guys who actually want to be in Seattle for the reasons that, if you would have said this like 2 years ago or even last year, I think guys would have still been like, I don't know.
Yep.
But, to hear what he's saying about the clubhouse, about how upper management's treating the players, how the coaches treat the players, he's in a groove and he's happy. So I'm thrilled. I mean, come on. We got guys who can actually command the zone, who actually throw strikes, who have velocity, who you're not sitting on an 88-mile fastball.
Yep, exactly.
That's their pitch. You got guys who can throw it, who can hit 100 miles per hour. Holy cow.
Yep.
I'm loving it. I'm loving this starting rotation. We're solid. We don't have to think about it. So thank you, Jerry Dipoto, for making that a reality. Bullpens are always going to be unique. But yeah, I hope they keep Brash in the bullpen. I think he's much better as a reliever, because like they said, he can just take his stuff, amp it up, and throw it, and knows he doesn't have to throw for 5 innings.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, and obviously this is very far stretched, as this is probably the greatest reliever of all time, but kind of that Mariano Rivera where it's the high fastball and then that cutter.
Yeah.
Whereas Brash has the high fastball and the slider that is just nasty.
Nasty.
You know it's coming, and he still gets you out. Like I said, I know this is a stretch because Rivera was a unanimous Hall of Famer, but I think I don't think he has that potential, but I think he's very good. And if he can continue to really dial in that pitch, and you're looking at a very good setup, if not closer. And even when he was in the starting rotation, like you said, he would get through the lineup, and then that's when they would pick him up. So if you can have him in for just an inning, maybe two at most, I think that's a great option there. But kind of going back to the starting pitching, it's like, right now we have the previous Cy Young winner in the AL, and realistically, I mean, all four of those guys could probably win it. Luis Castillo could definitely win. Not this year, maybe, but going forward. I definitely expect Logan Gilbert to be in the conversation for Cy Youngs in the future, and then I don't think George Kirby is really that far off either. So the fact that two of them were essentially homegrown, in the terms that we either traded for them or drafted them as minors, or as, traded while they were in the minors and brought them up. Really great props to Dipoto, and we kind of talked about this, but it's like, why were the previous managing front offices so bad at drafting? Because even I know this is going to catching, but I think it's a big part of pitching. Is Cal Raleigh was a drafted player, in the third round. It's just like, what's so different with Dipoto's front office, where they are consistently drafting and trading away the correct players to bring in the correct players also. Real quick, why do you think, what's the difference with Dipoto compared to like the Zarenzik days, or before you going back even further?
I think Dipoto had a plan. He came in with a plan. He stuck to the plan. He wasn't stretching. He wasn't going to reach. Look at who we had as past GMs and what they reached for. They were just grasping at straws. They didn't have a plan. They were just playing season to season. Dipoto came in, told him what his ideas were. He had a plan. He stuck with it. And I think that's the difference.
And I think that's the great spot to end it right there, because now it's time's up. And, I think, we'll talk about it at the end. But let's go to the next segment here. Restarting the timer, heading over to the third quarter, or the third period, if we will, because the Seattle Kraken start tonight against the Edmonton Oilers, as my cat is now latched on the door frame. This is actually impressive. He's actually latched on. He's not sliding down yet. Okay. That was the best latch on I've ever seen. But back to the Kraken in Seattle. I'm excited. It's going to be the split squad, so the other half will play tomorrow night against Edmonton again in Climate Pledge Arena. Right away, I think we're going to see our first line with Beniers, Bjorkstrand, and Burakovsky going tonight. We'll see Martin Jones play tonight, I would assume, and then Brandon Tanev will be back as well.
Turbo!
So what are we really looking for tonight? I think kind of looking at the lineup that Seattle's going to put out tonight, it feels a lot more like the starting guys that probably have a secure spot on the NHL roster. Anything you're excited for looking at? Any players to watch? What's kind of your thoughts for tonight?
I'm kind of I'm amped about the new guys that they're bringing in. That first line is really going to be telling, and to see how they're going to mesh, what the communication is like, how do they pick up each other. Really curious to see how Matty does on both ends. How is he going to be as a distributor? He has some idea now what the NHL is about. Granted, it was only 10 games, but he knows what he's up against.
Oh yeah.
So and I think he mentioned he actually put on some muscle.
Yeah, there you go.
Which tells me, okay, he figured it out.
He's dialed in. Yeah.
He's dialed in now. He's like, okay, I know what I need to have to play at the NHL. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Definitely kind of curious to see, how Jones does in goal, and how fast, Turbo gets involved here, and see what his impact is. Because it's almost like he's also a free agent when he got injured so early last season.
Yeah.
So, just a gelling of the new guys, and of course seeing how McCann's been, and Eberle, how he does as well, and Gordy and Geeky and all those guys, just to see how they mesh, especially with the lineups. And in it, I don't know if he's going to play tonight or tomorrow night, but where Shane Wright shows
He'll be
up.
tomorrow. He'll be on Tuesday night.
And to see where he actually kind of plays and see what his, like they say, I'm probably putting the odds on he's going to be up with the team.
Think he'll be the fourth center?
Get anything much out of the OHL going back down because they can't bring him back up. So, if that's the case if he's on the cusp, if he looks like, he could make this team, I think he gets on the team.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to lose a year out of him.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hate to bring this up, especially with him going to Denver, but it kind of is potentially a little bit like Russell Wilson when he got drafted, where it was like, okay, he's pretty close to probably being a legit starter in the NFL. And, he did enough. Like, if Shane Wright does just enough, he'll be on the team. And I think that's kind of what Russ did in the preseason back then. He did just enough to warrant, like, we signed Matt Flynn, but let's get Russ the ball and see what happens. So I agree. I definitely think Shane Wright, I think he's probably 50-50 in the minds of the GM right in the front office right now. If he becomes that fourth center, because there is depth at center. That's probably our strongest spot, realistically.
Yeah.
But if I think it's like 5 or 6 preseason games, you see a couple goals, a couple assists. I think it's hard to keep him down, especially with what you saw with Matty last year in his 10 games.
Well, yeah.
And I mean, I definitely like that they let him play at Michigan. Like, that was cool. And I think all sports should probably kind of do that a little bit.
Absolutely.
But especially with Wright, it's like he's just going to, like you said, go down a division. But if he can at least get consistent minutes on the ice up at the NHL, keep him up and let him just grow, like work through it,
Yeah. He could be like an Alex Rodriguez, a Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah. Yeah.
He played his way on the team.
Yep. Exactly.
I think Shane could
that's a good
come out
one.
and do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's probably, like you said, Hackstoll's mind or even Francis's mind, 50-50 right now.
Yep.
If he all of a sudden comes out and he just starts lighting it up and he can control the game and he's doing what he needs to do, it's going to be hard to keep him on. You're gonna want that.
I mean, too, if you just kind of look at like the right wing and left wing pairing you might have with him, and I'm not really sure what they're going to do tomorrow, but I mean, if you can even have Donato and Tanev with him on the outsides, that's I think that's a solid line there to at least keep him keep him in check. And have some veteran experience there, obviously with Tanev, and then Donato's young, but he's been in the league for a little bit.
Right.
So definitely looking forward to the Kraken versus the Oilers the next couple days, and we'll definitely keep an eye on that and see what Shane Wright does, and expecting Matty Beniers to do his thing as well, and the new guys like you said, Burakovsky and Bjorkstrand, as well as some of the new defenders that we called up, and going to see what they do.
Absolutely.
Oh, I completely pressed the wrong button here. Let me get this back pulled up. That's embarrassing. Gotta love that. All right. Well, we're going to restart the timer here. We're going to go back to Seattle Mariners, because the thing with Castillo was he actually wanted to be here and stay here.
Yeah.
Which is surprising as a Mariner fan. You don't really hear that over the last 20 years. Usually if someone gets traded here, they're leaving right after the season. So it kind of brings me to my next ask. And we kind of talked about this over the weekend when we found out Castillo was saying, but eventually the Mariners will be in the off season, and they're going to want to improve and actually contend for the AL West title instead of just the wild card. And granted, this year I will gladly take the wild card. I'll be buying wild card, merchandise. I'm very happy, so don't take it the wrong way. But what options or positions are you really looking at? In the off season this coming year? Obviously we talked about the starting rotation. I feel very good there. I think the bullpen, as long as they can retain most of those pieces, I feel a little confident. I would like to see maybe a dominant lefty there. But I love Munoz down there, Paul Sewald, Brash, like a lot of really good options there that we already have. When you just hear the question, what position is of need? Where do you think? An initial reaction.
I'm going to say second base.
Okay.
Just because, Adam Frazier, the All-Star.
Not the All-Star this year.
Not the All-Star this year. I don't know what's happened a little bit there, but just looking around what we have and what we could supplant, I think we have some pieces in the outfield
Yep.
that we could be okay with. Again, I wouldn't mind having another power hitter out of the outfield. Would be nice. Just because unfortunately Winker has not played up to
No.
his numbers and what he's done in the past. And he's unfortunately looked a little stiff in left field. Well, I'll just put it to you that way.
Just real quick, what's kind of funny is I feel like when that trade got announced, it was like Winker was the centerpiece and Suarez was the one we were just taking on to get so the Reds could get rid of him. Kind of feels like the opposite now. Feels like Suarez turned into the centerpiece and Winker kind of was brought on so since he could get rid of him. But back to your point.
Yeah, so Haniger is an interesting guy when he's healthy.
Yeah.
He lights it up, but he has just been snake bit.
Just very fluky injuries.
Yeah. What can you say? I feel bad for the guy, but again, you kind of look at past. What have you done for me lately, or what has happened lately? And he's been an injured guy. Like I said, if he's healthy, God, he's a great player.
Mm-hmm.
You just
all-star level, 30 home runs, 70 RBIs. Yeah.
You just can't.
You can't rely on him to be out there every day. Yeah. For better or worse, you just can't.
You just can't. Sam Haggerty has just blossomed.
Yes.
But I don't know if you can actually just consider him an everyday player. I don't know why.
It still feels like a platoon guy coming off the bench to run.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's where he's, the platoon guy. Like Dylan Moore, Sam Haggerty, those are your utility bench guys.
Yep.
You got that locked up.
Oh yeah.
So again, I'm looking at maybe a corner outfield dinger and then second base. At least that's where I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair if you just look around the field in general.
Yeah.
Cal is going to be the catcher. First base, Ty France probably has that locked up.
Yep.
They obviously just re-signed JP this year to a 3-year deal, I think, or 4
or something. Yeah. Like that, yeah.
Eugenio, I think, has got locked up third after this year, at least for next year. And then center field is obviously going to be,
Julio.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's got that pretty much in the bag for the next 14 years. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, right and left field. I think the crazy thing too is like if Kyle Lewis can get healthy again, like
there you go.
Former rookie of the year, he's just been sitting down in Tacoma. He's having a great time hitting the ball from what I've seen on the Mariners minor Twitter account.
Yeah.
Yeah,
another guy like Haniger, unfortunately.
Yeah, just had the year and then got hurt and just can't really get healthy again, which is unfortunate. But
I guess that the wild card is Kelnick.
Yeah, you don't know what you're really getting with him. Like at the end of the year, it seems to be just last year and going to this year. I think he's hitting like 345 in 2 games, but and last year he was like a 280 hitter at the end of the year. But the rest of the year he just can't hit. Very odd, very strange. But if he can, hopefully carry this over again into next year, you might be okay. And then you're just looking at second base and kind of boosting up the bullpen a little bit and maybe getting a backup catcher because I'm not really sold on Kurt Caselli or the other one, Luis Torrens.
Or Luis Torrens. Yeah.
But with that,
Tom Murphy, if it comes back.
Yeah, true.
Healthy. And then how fast can Harry Ford move up the ranks?
See, I don't want to rush him.
Nope, don't want to rush him. Don't want to do a Zunino.
Yeah. Especially when Cal is there and has kind of established himself as the catcher, at least at this point. Good defense, obviously a good power hitter. But with that said, at least we wrapped up on kind of a good note. Kind of went down, up, down, up. Well, obviously, or actually, up, down, up. So not a bad show tonight. And we didn't really do too bad on the timer either. So definitely looking forward to tonight, seeing the Kraken play. Obviously, hopefully the Mariners get back on track as it was a bad road series. But Fangraphs has them now at 100% making the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. I don't believe it, but I like the statistic. So with that said, everybody, thank you all for watching another episode of Anchors Away. We will be back again this time, later this week at some point. We'll be back. Go ahead, subscribe, like, comment, let us know what you like and don't like. Until then, we will see you all in the next episode.
Have a good one.